Hi, my name is Peter Gray. I'm Vice President of Client Services at Aileron Communications, and we worked with the DuPage River Salt Creek Work Group to assess public opinion and do some research on what people think about Fullersburg Woods, Growl Mill, and Salt Creek. So I'm going to talk about some of the things we learned today and give you some information and data on the public opinion research. So our objectives when we were doing this research was to find out what public opinion was on the topic, understand the public's concerns and the support, and understand how to design a project that would work for the community. The work group had heard from a few residents and from some interested folks, but hadn't gotten a good picture of sort of overall public opinion around Growl Mill and Salt Creek. So that was our first job. And what we wanted to learn was, in general, people across DuPage County, what do they think about Growl Mill and Fullersburg Woods? What are their concerns? And how can we address those concerns and help people understand a project that would improve water quality and experience at Fullersburg Woods? So what we did was conducted qualitative and quantitative public opinion research of DuPage County residents. That included a telephone survey, an online survey, in-depth interviews, and a focus group. The telephone survey was a statistically significant sample of residents across the county, the same type of survey that's used to get public opinion research for political campaigns and other issues. The online survey was completed by folks who saw it either shared online or through emails from their neighbors. And so these are folks who are going to be a little bit more interested in Fullersburg Woods or a little bit more familiar with the area. And we conducted interviews with stakeholders, including the Prairie State Canoeists, Growl Mill and Museum, Oak Brook Chamber of Commerce, and the Fullersburg Historic Foundation. And then we did a focus group with 7 people who had varying opinions on the topic. We talked with about 90 minutes, looked at pictures, and got sort of in-depth conversation about what could work for Growl Mill and Fullersburg Woods. This is our key findings on this. Across the board, we saw that there was strong support for modifying the dam when people understood that it could improve water quality and save taxpayers money. Both improving water quality and saving money are key concerns for people in DuPage County, as well as the aesthetic and historic aspects of Growl Mill. And we found that visuals, data, and clear communication would be important to helping the public understand the project. And that's part of what we're doing today. So our telephone survey was a statistically significant random sample of people across DuPage County. Had a margin of error of plus or minus 4.5%. This is a good baseline data, the same kind of data that's used by other industries and by politicians and everyone else. 33% of the people in the county were familiar with Growl Mill. 11% had visited in the past year. 81% of people in the county would support modifying the dam to improve water quality. 79% said they would support modifying the dam if it saved taxpayers money. And 62% said historic sites are very important to their community. Here's some graphs of those results. Blue being yes to supporting dam modification, no being red, unsure being gray. Our online survey had a slightly different audience of people we were getting information from. It wasn't a random survey across the county, but it was an audience that was a little bit familiar with the project and had an opinion one way or the other. They were more familiar with Growl Mill and Fullersburg Woods. We could tell through the data. 94% of those people that responded said they would support modifying the dam in order to improve water quality. 94% say they would support modifying the dam to save taxpayers money. 81% felt that water quality and habitat were important. And a majority of people felt that historic places were important to their community. 44% said that those places are very important. 35% responded those places are somewhat important. These are graphs of the support for dam modification, the yes being blue, the no being red, from the online survey. And again, we saw strong support in both surveys for dam modification. So after collecting this data, which gave us a good baseline, we wanted to talk to individuals and stakeholders to understand their concerns. So we did in-depth interviews and did a focus group. In our in-depth interviews, we talked with local stakeholders, including a representative of the Grau Mill and Museum, the Fullersburg Historic Foundation. These folks were focused on aesthetics of the Grau Mill, the historic aspects there, and the function of the mill race. They had skepticism that the modification would be effective, and they weren't convinced that the costs we cited for alternatives were accurate. The Oak Brook Chamber of Commerce was strongly in support of the project, especially based on the cost of potential alternatives. Prairie State Canoeist was supportive of the project and interested in paddling and recreational access. So there's a good variety of viewpoints we used as we thought about the project. And then we conducted a focus group. We selected people who had varying opinions on the project and on dam modification. Got them together in a room and sat down and had a long conversation, looked at pictures, and talked about what the project might mean for them. The summary of that discussion, we had across the board concern about water pollution and water quality. Using images was an important way to help these participants understand what the project would do. And we found that maintaining water flow in the mill race was a priority, and keeping the mill functioning would resolve a lot of the concerns that folks had. Interest in data and water quality and the broader system impacts was something we learned from the focus group. People wanted to know what would happen downstream, what would happen upstream if we made a change at Fullersburg Woods. And fish and wildlife below the dam were seen as an important success story when people learned about how biodiversity is strong below the dam and weaker above the dam. That resonated with folks we talked to. So after this research, we put together recommendations for the DuPage River Salt Creek Work Group. We found that using renderings and visuals of the project would help the public understand what we were proposing to do. We recommended they explain the project using data on water quality, water pollution, effectiveness of dam modification, the costs of alternatives, and the work that's been completed in other parts of the watershed. Because folks we had conversations with really wanted to understand the details. And with those details, they were much more comfortable with the approach that had been proposed. We also said that it would be important to provide opportunities for questions and for feedback and to keep channels of communication open. We think that the work group's doing a good job of implementing all these recommendations, done a very careful job of putting this project together. So we look forward to answering questions, getting more feedback, and working with the community to move this forward. And I thank you for your time today, and that's all I've got.